I continue to be impressed with the growing size of 9 a.m. week 1 Friday. What is wrong with you? So I understand that this is something that you have to come to, but this isn't something that you have to come to. So I consider myself very lucky to be in front of some of the best and brightest students that we have here at Full Sail, and I think that we're going to see that here in this workshop today. For those of you that just stumbled into incorrect class, this is going to be blogging for SEO. By a show of hands, how many understand what SEO is? Okay, all right, good, all right. For those of you that don't know what SEO is, we will have the opportunity to dive deep into exactly what it entails and debunk some of the myths about SEO. Furthermore, you all are developing this digital portfolio for your coursework throughout your program here at Full Sail. And blogging is actually a very important component of that. There are also myths that exist around this topic of blogging that I want to debunk as well, because blogging isn't what it used to be. So let's dive in. First and foremost, I see a lot of new faces again, which is fantastic for week 1, 9 a.m. class. That means I haven't quite had you yet. I actually teach Project and Portfolio 1, so I'm very early in the degree program. Shout out to students in the back, current students. Thanks for being here, right? For those of you that I haven't met yet, here are some of the credentials that I hold. Most notably for our conversation today, I worked about 5 years, just about 6 years now, in the local community with digital media agencies as a content marketing strategist. Those unfamiliar with that term, a content marketing strategist is kind of responsible for all things digital marketing. It's essentially the individual that will develop the content and the strategy to go behind the dissemination of that content, both online and off. So my roles and responsibilities as an independent contractor for digital media agencies included meeting with clients, figuring out their needs, and then also understanding their target audience and developing content strategies that would meet those needs. So it involved SEO, or search engine optimization. It also involved email marketing, pay-per-click campaigns, and other advertising. It also involves search engine, social media marketing, and so much more. So anything that was digital, I had my hands on. And that's really the experience that I'm bringing to the table to share with you today. So let's hear from you. What is a blog? What is a blog? Yes.
It can be like stories or things that you want to write about and share them.
It could be stories of things that interest you and you would like to share those. Very good. Anybody else want to add to that? Yes.
It's like an online article that's usually opinion-based.
Online article that's usually opinion-based. Okay. Anybody else? Yeah. So combine these together, and that's usually what you'll get. The technical definition of it would be a blog is a shortened version of the word weblog, and an online journal and informational website displaying information in reverse chronological order with the latest posts appearing first. It's a platform where a writer or a group of writers share their views of an individual topic. It's pretty close to what you guys said, right? It's also extremely boring and very antiquated. It's that particular definition that we need to dispel today, because blogging is so much more in 2019. In 2019, a blog is not just showcasing a perspective on a topic. It's also just not the written word. It's so much more than the written word. It's also not something that stay-at-home parents do. You probably heard the term mommy bloggers or daddy bloggers, and they're trying to make a few extra bucks on the side while they raise their kids. It's also not just for influencers either. Blogs in 2019 is not just a journal for you to share these intimate thoughts and feelings that you have with the world. In 2019, it is so much more than just those things. In fact, a blog can actually be a factual journalistic site. It could also be a commentary or opinion-based site. A blog is also in-depth, long-form. and or short form content. Think Twitter, for instance. Yes, in fact, a blog can contain and should contain the written word. However, that's not all it contains. Blogging, more broadly applied, has to do with disseminating branded multimedia content, and that's really key here. In 2019, we're not just about the written word online. We're actually about multimedia content. It's content that will take a variety of different forms for very specific purposes to include value to a well-defined audience. It could be live streamed. It could be video. It could be audio. It could be video and audio. It could be so many different forms that it takes online. In fact, blogging can be done on a self-hosted site, which I highly recommend. I highly recommend blogging on a self-hosted site. And the reason why I say that is if you ever read the small print of the terms of use for, say, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Medium, or any other social network, you don't own the content that you are giving them. They do. So at any moment, they can change their terms of use, they can change their policies, they can pull your content immediately. And now it's not yours to share any longer with the world. So another thing that I would mention, thank you. Another thing that I would mention is that if you have a self-hosted site, you actually own that content. So people aren't pulling that content down. If you are going to use a third-party site, there's plenty to choose from. WordPress is one of them. Tumblr's another. It's a hot commodity as far as the blog is concerned. But so too is LinkedIn. By a show of hands, how many of you actually have a LinkedIn profile? Very good, excellent. So on LinkedIn, you can publish articles directly to that platform where people are already going to read information about topics that matter most to you and your profession. There's another platform, highly recommend this one. It's called Medium. How many are familiar with this platform, Medium? Good, excellent. We have at least a couple. Medium is specifically for long form, well-researched, well-defined articles. Medium is a great place to kind of write one really robust quality article, share it with a community that's extremely active, and see what kind of responses you get. If you get some positive responses, that might be a topic that you should come back to and start talking about more in depth later on. There's other sites too, of course, that you're probably familiar with. Twitter is literally a micro blog. That's how it started. It's a micro blog. You have Instagram, which is more of a visual blog, obviously. Same with Snapchat, visual and a little bit of audio and video as well. You have YouTube, which is a vlog, a video blog. And you have Facebook, which is a combination of all these things. And really, all these platforms have been a combination of live streaming, visual, audio for quite some time now. So blogging in 2019 is so much more, which requires us to redefine what blogging actually is. And blogging now would be referred to as publishing branded multimedia content, which is key, in reverse chronological order for the purpose. Why are we doing this? Why do we blog? Well, it's to provide value. It's to provide value. That's why we blog. It's to provide value to whom? To a well-defined target audience. So what do we think? Is that something that we can buy into? Is that something that we can actually get behind? Right? So blogging isn't just what it used to be. It's not that antiquated approach to viewing, writing for long hours, and having, some cat lady held up in her house writing about her thoughts and feelings for the day. That's not what blogging really is. Blogging is so much more in 2019 and should be adopted as part of your marketing campaign for your personal brands. So why is blogging important? Blogging is important for multiple reasons, and I'll just cite a few statistics here. First, there's more than 4 billion people on the internet. 89% of Americans have access to the internet. These numbers are substantial. You have 2 billion websites and blogs to date, 2 billion with a B. You also have more than 500 million bloggers. 500 million bloggers. That's more than the entire population of the United States. You also have more than 2 million blog posts published today. In one day, you'll have 2 million published. That's pretty incredible. You also have, according to Google, 130 trillion with a T web pages on the indexed internet. 130 trillion. You also have more than 80 million blog posts and pages published every month. You have more than 20 billion blog post views each month on WordPress network alone, with over 400 million people viewing blog posts each month on the WordPress network. You have 47% of internet users regularly reading blogs. So out of all these internet users, 47%, almost half, are regularly reading blogs. You have 71% of the WordPress network of blog posts are written in the English language. That's predominantly what you all would be speaking and writing in for the sake of these projects. You also have Google searches at 70,000 per second. Every second, there's 70,000 searches happening on Google. Are they going to find you when they search? With all this noise happening, how can you possibly cut through that noise? How can you possibly develop a product, a piece of content that's actually going to relate to and respond well to and be found, most importantly, by your target audience? Ultimately, blogging is important for multiple reasons, and these reasons would include the fact that it provides you with, or provide search engines rather, with content to serve your target audience. That's so important. Your audience is searching for something right now that you know the answer to. Are you giving them the answer? Are you giving them the solution? It helps solve the problems of your target audience. Blogging also helps you grow your brand awareness. So how can somebody possibly know that you would be of value to them if they can't ever find you, if they don't know that you exist? You have to be able to get through all those numbers that I just showed you to the top of the Google results for very specific keywords. And lastly, blogging will help you persuade your target audience of the value that you create for them. It's about persuasion. It's not just the ability to provide value to your target audience. It's the ability to persuade them that you can provide that value. Because ultimately, you're going to be giving them a promise. You're not delivering on that promise until after the work has been completed. So, what is SEO? If we're now familiar with blogging and why it perhaps is important, what is SEO? Now, I know I saw a few hands being raised that we know what SEO is, so we probably know what it stands for. Engine optimization. Search engine optimization is what SEO stands for. Now, given the acronym, it's paradoxical to think about it this way, but SEO is so much more than about the search engine. It's actually more about people than it is the search engine. It's more about people than it is the search engine, which makes the acronym SEO rather paradoxical. SEO, as written by Moz.com, is the practice of increasing both the quality and quantity of website traffic. Now I'm going to stop there for a second. We're looking at both sides of the coin here. We're looking at quality and quantity of traffic. So we don't want just anybody going to our site, because if somebody comes to our site and they don't like what they see, if what they see is not valuable to them, what are they going to do? They're going to bounce. Right? Literally, it's called a bounce rate, and I'll get into that in a moment. So we don't want high bounce rates. We don't want a lot of people walking into our store and going, no, not what I'm interested in, and walking right out. Those are bounce rates. We want a lower bounce rate. So we want to actually bring in the right traffic to our website, people that are of interest to us and to our content. It goes on to say, as well as exposure to your brand. So here's that brand awareness component. SEO allows you to expose more people to who you are, what you do, how and why do you do it, and for whom. That's so important. You have to at least increase your brand's awareness in order for people to hire you or work with you in some capacity. And then it goes on to say, through non-paid, or also known as organic, search results. Okay, so this is organic that we're talking about. We're not talking about pay for play. We're not talking about pay per click campaigns where you could pay money and get to the top of the search results through an ad. We're referring to, in this context, organic search results. So naturally getting to the top of Google's first page for certain keywords or phrases. The other thing that we should take into consideration is the intent of the searcher. The intent of the searcher. So what is the intent of somebody searching for a particular keyword? For instance, what are people searching for online? That's first and foremost what we should know. What are they searching for? Are they using the same language that we're using within our content? Very important. Another question we should ask ourselves is, what answers are they seeking? So if somebody was seeking Italian restaurants near me, what answers are they seeking? They're hungry, right? They're hungry. It's probably almost time to eat, or they're thinking about dinner time or something like that. They need to know what options they have available to them. How far away is it? Are they open? Are they not open? What are the hours? You know, that sort of thing. What's the price range? They might look at the menu, see if they have their favorite Italian food on there. There's a lot of things that they are telling us by simply stating Italian restaurants near me. What are words that they're using? Are they using Italian, or are they using pasta? Are they using a specific type of pasta, like linguine or spaghetti or something like that, right? Is there a specific type of word that they're using to affiliate with their needs or desires? And then you have, what type of content do they wish to consume? So you have to understand, do they prefer the written word? Do they prefer live stream? Do they prefer video? How about podcasts? How about just audio, or that they can listen to on their way to work during their commute? Maybe they take the train, the bus. Maybe they don't have to drive. Maybe they are driving, right? But how are they consuming the content, and what type is best suited for them? Now, if we know these answers to these questions, this will allow us to connect with the people that are searching online for the solutions that we provide. So the better we know our audience, the better we can provide a solution for them through the content that we publish. If you know your audience's intent, that's one side of the SEO coin. The audience's intent. The other side of the SEO coin is delivering on this particular content in a way that search engines can crawl and find it and understand it. So we're actually talking to two different types of entities. You're talking to a human entity, which is your target audience. Then you're also talking to a machine, a digital gatekeeper, which is the search engine crawlers. You have a question or comment?
Yeah, I was gonna ask, how do search engines pick up on keywords like you're saying with a video? Like say you want to post a video, and it's something that I've wondered myself for a while.
Yeah.
Posting a video about, I don't know, teaching your audience or whatever you do. How does it pick up those keywords?
There's a couple of different ways. So there's something called first and foremost, there's a title tag, and we'll get into that in just a minute, but that's essentially the title of your video. Those keywords matter the most. Then there's meta description, which is that description field. Say you're on YouTube, that description field is meta description that is provided in a search engine results page. As you're looking down that page, you're seeing a title, a URL, and then like 2 sentences that describe what that content is. Those keywords should be found, your keywords should be found in that meta description as well. You can also tag these videos, specifically on YouTube I'm referring to. So you can tag it with the appropriate keywords. And then lastly, YouTube actually provides you with a service to transcribe the audio of your video. So if you've transcribed that and provided them with the best possible closed captions that they can provide to the hearing impaired, or to somebody who just might want to follow along, maybe they speak a different language, so it's better for them to read it than to hear it sometimes. That is going to improve your search engine rankings as well for that particular video. Just think of it this way. Google wants to know everything, literally everything. And so the more that you give them, the more they're going to reward you for that. Does that make sense? Cool. Good question. I love it. Keep them coming. All right. So this is SEO. There's 2 sides. There's the human and there's the computer element, or the bots element. Now, here's how things get a little bit more complicated in 2019 and beyond. How many of you are familiar with Google Lens? Okay. Google Lens is a pretty cool feature, but for somebody like me, it complicates things significantly, because now you can search by not using words at all. You can search by taking out your phone, pointing it at an object, and clicking the capture button to take a picture. Now you can search just based on a picture. And it looks like this. So let's say that you wanted to translate something. You're traveling and you wanted to understand a foreign language. You could take a picture of that poster, that card, that brochure, and it's going to translate what that says for you. It's going to take in all the text. It's going to translate it for you right there on your phone. Some other things that this particular feature can do is it can add things like let's say you see a poster, a flyer for an upcoming concert, and you're like, I want to go to that. I want to buy tickets to that. Well, if you use Google Lens, you take a picture of the flyer, what it's going to do is it's going to bring up the opportunity to buy the tickets and include it on your calendar, on your perhaps iCal if you're using an iPhone, or your Google Calendar or whatever else. It's actually going to take that information and open up other applications and give you what it is that you're looking for. Some other things that this Google Lens can do is, let's say you see somebody's purse, bag, backpack, you see their hat, their shirt, their pants, and you're like, gosh, I really like those. Take the picture. Google is then going to use that information, and it's going to give you either that exact match or very similar bags, backpacks, shirts, pants, hats, or the like. It's just going to show you what it is that you're looking for. Some other things that you can do with this is you can actually go to a restaurant, take a picture of the menu, and then it'll show you the most popular menu items that people have purchased and talked about online based on that particular restaurant and menu. Some other things that you can do, let's say you were looking, you're traveling, and you see this building, you're like, gosh, that is an iconic building, that is a really cool building, but I don't know what it is. So you take a picture of it, it'll tell you the history of that building, when it was built, it'll tell you the hours that they're open. So you're walking by a store, you're like, oh, I don't see their hours. Snap, okay, this is how long they're open. Today, Saturday, next day, whatever. Another thing that you can do, which I think is pretty cool, is you're like, hey, that dog is really cute. What kind of dog is that? Oh, I don't know. Well, snap, that'll tell you exactly what kind of dog that is. The other thing it'll do is it works really well with plants. So if you were to like say, oh my gosh, that plant is beautiful, I'd love to have those flowers in my garden or whatever else, snap, it'll tell you what kind of flowers they are. This is incredibly difficult for search engine optimization specialists like myself to get around, because now people are not using words anymore, they're using pictures. So now we have to understand what pictures people are using and the intent behind those particular pictures. But there's another type of search that occurs in 2019, and that is voice search. So you have the likes of Alexa, right? Sorry if I just turned on somebody's devices, right? You have this particular voice search, which is becoming more and more and more prevalent, even more than the visual search through images. So with Alexa, you also have Google Voice or Google Assistant that you can utilize for voice search, which is revolutionizing the way in which we find products, services, or people or places that we're interested in. So these particular modes of searching also have applications tied to them, which hold a lot of the data that we as search engine optimists would like to get our hands on. Those would include, for like Alexa, you have, of course, the Echo. For Google Assistant, you have the Google Home. For Microsoft, you have Cortina, and you have the Invoke. And then you lastly have Siri, obviously, for an Apple device. And all of these are taking in content. So what does this mean? What does it mean for you as a blogger, let's say? Well, what it means is like the worst possible thing for an instructor to hear. It means that you have to write the way that you, or better yet, your audience speaks. Now, I've spent a lot of my professional life in higher education, and for those of you that took my class understand this, right? Correcting the English language, correcting the way in which you are writing professionally. And now I'm standing before you in the context of blogging only, telling you to write the way that you speak, or to write the way that your audience speaks, better yet. So you can imagine just how frustrating that makes me as an instructor feel, but it is true. You have to write the way that you speak, because when somebody is looking for something, they're probably going to pronounce it incorrectly. They're probably going to use different language to describe what it is that they're looking for. So there's a lot of different ways that you have to incorporate those keywords the way in which somebody would say them inside of your blog post. The other thing that we should take in consideration is the fact that we're pretty much just optimizing for Google at this point. We're not even optimizing for so many other search engines. We're really just doing it for Google. And why do I say that? Well, more than 92% of all searches happen on Google properties. Google is by and large the king of search and all things search. And that's with the advent of Amazon's Alexa, which is obviously taking off significantly, and voice search specifically. But if I bring this graph up a little bit closer for you to get an idea, what you see here in this blue is google.com, and that's almost 60% right there, google.com. But then you have 27%-ish with Google Images. So you have Google Images and you have google.com taking up the lion's share. Beyond that, you have YouTube, which is owned by Google, right? Taking up another roughly 4%. And then finally, you have a competitor in Yahoo at 2.47%. Beyond that, you have Bing, which is owned by Microsoft at 2.25%, Google Maps at 2%, and then Amazon at 1.85%. And then, just for kicks, you get Google News at 0.28% as well. So they weren't done yet, right? So that is a substantial amount of the lion's share of search traffic, and it's all owned by Google. So when you optimize your posts, you should probably coincide with the best practices that Google lays out. Click-through rates, as far as the first page of Google is concerned. Click-through rates are very important. Essentially, that means what are the chances that somebody actually clicks on your content within the top page of Google as opposed to someone else's? Well, if you look at the breakdown, and these are rough estimates, but these are the ones that have been studied over time, the top spot, the organic top spot of Google results takes about 31%. So if you can land that top spot on the first page of Google, you have a 31% chance of getting a click-through by the visitor. At number 2, it drops almost in half, or more than half, at 14%. And then below that, at 3, it's 10%, 7%, 5%. If you continue down the page, you're going to get all of the final 6 or 5 here at 3% collectively. So the first page of Google is 70% of the clicks. If that means if you make it to the second page, you only have a 30% chance of somebody even seeing your content, let alone clicking through it. So the importance of getting on the first page of Google cannot be overestimated or underestimated. So Google algorithm factors, how do you get onto this first page? Well, that is the question that everybody would love to know. And people have been trying to game the system since the beginning of the algorithms of Google, and it continues to change and shift because it's a trade secret. It's kind of like Coca-Cola's formula. It's kind of like KFC's recipes and so forth. You're just not going to know the trade secrets. So Google algorithm is a trade secret as well. No one knows it but the engineers themselves. But there are some things that we do know, and those things that we do know include user experience. Now, you'll notice that right out of the gate, it's not about the actual keywords. It's not about the keywords. It's actually about the user experience that somebody is going to get when they come to your site. That is one of the key components that Google takes into account when they are issuing search results for somebody's search. Another thing that they take in consideration is on-page SEO. This means everything that you have control over on every individual page of your site. It takes into consideration bounce rates or time spent on site. So if somebody comes into your site, sees what they don't appear to be of value, and then leaves your site, that's considered a bounce. And the higher the bounce rate, the more you'll be dinged by Google. Social media posts are very important to the algorithm. So the more interaction, the more followers and everything else that you have on social media tells Google that you're quote unquote popular, or they're validating your content in some way. Conversion data. So Google tracks how many people are actually clicking your call to action buttons, how many people are clicking within your pages to get to another page or to do something on your site. The higher your conversion rates, the more the increase you will have in your search engine results. Page views. How many different views did how many different pages did they view when they came to your site? Did they just view one? Or did they click around a little bit and view 5, 6, or 7? That's very important. Backlinks. Backlinks are what other organizations will do to reference your material. So let's say you wrote a blog post and you included a video and an infographic and all this multimedia content, and another organization read that and said, this is amazing, you should probably go check it out. So if you get backlinks from, say, another news site or a blog site, and they're linking to your site and your content, that is aces in the minds of Google. So they love backlinks. Site speed. Now you could take this test. It's by Google. It's Page Speed Insights. Just Google Page Speed Insights, and you'll find the test. You just simply put in your URL, and it'll tell you how fast your site is loading. The faster your site loads, the better off you'll be in the eyes of Google and other search engines for that matter. Mobile friendliness. Is your website responsive design? So the site that you're developing here at Full Sail is actually responsive web design, which means that as soon as somebody pulls it up on their iPhone or an iPad or various other size screen, it's going to adjust for that screen not perfectly without some alterations, but it is going to adjust and accommodate a device like a mobile device. And you can determine how friendly your particular site is by using this test as well. It's just simply called Mobile Friendly Test, and it's also by Google. Internal linking structure, which means is every page on your site linked to another page on your site? The more links you have internally, leading from one page to another on your site, the better the spiders, we call them, the bots will crawl your site and find everything on it. So that's very important as well. And then structured markups. These have to do with HTML, HTML5, CSS, various other languages, but primarily HTML and HTML5. And do you have the right, what we call alt tags? And I'll get into that in just a minute. Do you have the right header text or meta descriptions and various other information? So it's about so much more than just keywords. The anatomy of a blog post. Now, the blog posts that you write should have a particular structure over and over again, and this will actually help you write those blog posts quite well. First, we should note that 73% of visitors are skimming rather than reading the blog post thoroughly. So if we are writing a blog post for people to actually read it, we're writing it incorrectly. We actually want to write a blog post so people skim it. And people will skim a blog post easily if there's images or other multimedia content involved in the post itself. So if you have a video embedded in your post, if you have a couple images or perhaps GIFs or a soundtrack from SoundCloud or something of that nature, people's eyes are going to move down the page and skim the content and get to those content pieces a lot quicker. You should also take into consideration subheaders or lots of white space between paragraphs, bullet points, bold, italicized words, quotes that you can pull out. Anything that would allow the visitor to skim your content a little bit easier is what we're looking for. We would also note that if we wanted to make it on the first page of Google, then we should probably write what the common blog post is writing on the first page of Google. So studies have shown that the average word count of a post on Google's first page of results is 1,900 words. So if we're only writing 200 words, that's telling Google that particular post isn't of much value. 300 words is the absolute minimum, but the ideal weight of a blog post should be somewhere around 1,000 to 2,000 words. That's the ideal. If you can go longer, then certainly go longer. But you can see here, this number of 1,900 words is the average. That is not the high or the low. It's the average, which means there are going to be substantially more above that. All right, so here we have 1,900 words for our post. We want it to be long. And then how long will it take us to write these posts? Well, we can see here in 2017 that the average blogger is taking somewhere between 1 to 2 hours or 2 to 3 hours combined, those two elements here. That's usually the sweet spot to write these posts. So it's not going to take you 5 minutes, but it also shouldn't take you 5 hours. It should take you somewhere in between where you're getting good quality content that's of value to your intended audience. So how should we structure this particular blog post? The structure of your blog post should look like this. It should first and foremost lead with a headline. attention-grabbing headline, one that has been optimized for both search engines and people. Keywords are very important to include within the headline. The other thing that's important to include are numbers. For those of you that have taken my class over the past 4 or 5 months, they understand the importance of having a numeric number in the header or the title of your blog post. And the reason for that is it forces the reader to stop just for a second and take in that number. 7 mistakes that sportscasters make, right? Having mistakes sportscasters make is one thing, but having 7 mistakes that sportscasters make forces you to take into consideration what that 7 is telling you. It's a different character than everything else within the header. The other thing that you could do is you could ask questions. We just learned that there is something called voice search. Voice search now. So how do people search on Alexa? How do people search on Google Assist? How do people search now? They're asking questions. Where is the nearest Italian restaurant to me? When can I get the new microphone, a USB microphone, right? How far away is, and then fill in the blank. We are asking questions to Google and to various other search engines. So we can pose those questions directly in the headline. It should also be short. It should be short. The longer the headline, the less optimized it is. So there's only a certain amount of space within a search engine results page that you're actually going to see what the headline says. So you'll need to shorten it as best as possible while still keeping your important keywords intact. The next thing that we should have is a featured image, an attention-grabbing featured image, an image that means something to your audience that might be even provoking at times. The featured image should include what we call alt tags. Alt tags or alt text are important to telling search engines what that image actually is and the intent of the image. You can find images that are high resolution and royalty-free on unsplash.com. Unsplash.com is one of my all-time favorite sites. It provides a lot of marketers plenty of material to work with to build out and customize websites, promotional materials. So if you're ever in a position where you need imagery but you don't have the ability to take it, I highly recommend going to unsplash.com. You can use those images however you see fit for any purpose that you see fit. You can crop them, you can filter them, you can do anything that you like for them, and you don't even have to give credit to the original author. It's always nice to do so, but it's not required on unsplash.com. Another thing that we should note is it should draw the visitor's attention down the page. This featured image is specifically designed to get people to want to read more, or at least see what's going to happen next. The third component is the introduction. Now, the introduction is the hook. You're explaining why the reader should continue to read your post. You're giving them a reason to care. That's the introduction. The introduction should also start the conversation. And I do mean conversation. Conversation here is so important because here's the thing. If people are searching the way that they talk, are they talking in third person? Some people are. Some people are. It sounds a bit arrogant, but yeah, Ryan Mickley did this. Ryan Mickley did, that would sound a bit arrogant. But instead, what we should write in a blog post is in the first person. You, me, my, I, those sort of pronouns. Okay. So when you write in conversational language, you're getting people involved. Like, wouldn't you like to double the traffic to your site in 1 month? Right? I know I would. Well, here's how I did it. And you can do it too, right? When you start engaging people within your post in that manner, all of a sudden they are wrapped into the conversation as well. So it should be conversational. Fourth, you should have a lead-in. The lead-in is the segue from the introduction to the main points that allows, that gives you a great opportunity to include what we call anchor text, or you can include, here are the 3 points that you're going to learn, right? 3 ways that Fire Festival really blew it in whatever year that was, right? So then you can summarize those 3 points by stating them, and you can link to it with what we call anchor text, that when somebody clicks on it, it draws them down to that point on the page. Do you know what I'm talking about? So when you click, boom, it's just going to draw you right down that same page to that exact point that somebody might want to read. So the lead-in is a great opportunity for you to kind of summarize what you're about to tell your visitors. Fifth, you have the main points. Now, the main points need to incorporate your keywords, but you don't want to overdo it. Keyword density is very important. Keyword density is very important. It shouldn't be too dense with keywords, otherwise it's going to look like spam to both the human and the bots that are indexing your site. But it should also be scannable. It should be broken up into bite-sized pieces. It should have multimedia content, hyperlinks out to other articles or resources that you would like to verify the information that you're saying. And all of these should be done in short, concise manners. If you're having a more long-form blog post, it's okay to expand upon a particular topic. That's perfectly fine. But if you're going to try to get right to the point and nail down what it is that you're talking about, make sure that you bold those particular elements. Make sure you really draw the visitor's attention and maybe have a tweet or a call-out box that indicates this is my main point. That will draw the person's attention to be able to scan. And then 6, you have your conclusion. Now, this isn't a conclusion like an APA style paper. This is simply a conclusion in the sense that here's what I just got done telling you. It can be informal. Remember, it's conversational. So your conclusion should also be short. It should be a brief summary of the main points that you just highlighted, and it's also your opportunity to incorporate those keywords or phrases once more, but probably in a different format. And then 7, you have inviting feedback or asking a question of your visitors. This is important. This is called a call to action. You don't want your visitors to come to your blog, leave, and never come back. You want them to stay engaged with you at some level so that they can continue building a relationship with you as you move closer and closer to the point of hiring them or them hiring you or working with them in some capacity. All right, so that is the anatomy of a blog post. Terminology. The terminologies, and some of these I've already thrown around, so I would just want to make sure that we're all on the same page and we know what we're talking about. I'm going to kind of breeze through this, but I want to at least acknowledge the fact that there is something called black hat SEO and there is something called white hat SEO. What do you think black hat SEO is? I see some people reading it right now, so I know you know. What is black hat SEO? It's okay to read. Go ahead.
Techniques and strategies that attempt to spam or fool the search engines.
That's right. That's excellent. You're brilliant, right? So you have black hat SEO. Now, here's what I would say with black hat SEO, and I actually have firsthand experience with this. Black hat SEO actually can work. I should say that. It can work, okay? But don't do the crime if you can't do the time. Because what's going to happen with black hat SEO is eventually it's not going to work any longer. Because if you think you're smarter than Google, that's quite the thought. I'll just put it that way. That's quite the thought. They have a tremendous amount of resources that goes into making sure that their algorithm does not get scammed. Does not get scammed. Because if it gets scammed, then what good is their service any longer? And if their service isn't good any longer, then they no longer make money. If they no longer make money, they no longer exist. Okay? So black hat, yes, it can work, but for a time. And what is it worth? High risk, high reward in a short period of time with absolutely devastating results. The very first job that I had coming out of Full Sail, in fact, I was still an intern at the time, was with a local organization. It no longer exists for this very reason. But I would go to work every day and I was still learning the ropes. And I was like, gosh, like our clients are crushing it. I'm looking at these numbers and everything is just fantastic. I didn't know how to compare them. So I kind of thought this was normal. But then when I had a glimpse at some of the other clients that were outside of our portfolio, I was like, geez, our clients are far superior. They're getting all these results, first page of Google. Look at these page views, unique monthly visitors, you name it, everything was flying off the charts. And one day I came to work and the door was locked. I'm like, man, I'm not early, so I'm looking and everything. And so I called my boss and he didn't answer, and then called him again, didn't answer. I'm emailing, didn't answer. So I came back the next day that I was supposed to be there, same thing. And I'm like, what is happening? Well, it just so happened I tried a third time, and my boss The third time that I got to the office was scurrying out the back with a few boxes in his hands and getting ready to leave. And I'm like, hey, what's been going on? I've been trying to get a hold of you. He's like, oh, yeah, yeah, we had to shut down. And after several conversations with other colleagues of mine, turns out that everything that they were doing, they were putting into practice for the clients, was considered black hat SEO. They were gaming the system. There's something called link farms that is essentially a farm that you set up to send all these backlinks to various sites. You could do keyword stuffing at the time and still get away with it. There was a lot of different things that they were putting into practice that was considered black hat. And what that did for the company was it put us out of business overnight. What that did for our clients was devastating. Absolutely devastating. Because imagine you're an e-commerce store. You're selling, shirts, hats, pants, whatever, and your entire livelihood is based upon getting traffic to your site and then getting them to convert to sales, right? And if all of a sudden your site is taken offline, that's like the police coming into your business, your brick and mortar store, and saying, lights out, everybody out, no one's coming back, right? So if Google de-indexed you or red flags your site, properties online, that could be absolutely devastating. So that's why I say black hat is not worth it. There's lots of ways to game the system. You can continue trying to game the system. Short term might work, long term, devastating. What's the reverse of black hat? The reverse of black hat is white hat approach. White hat is simply the best practices that you can integrate into your SEO efforts. It's essentially what Google or various other search engines say, here's what you should be doing when you optimize for our machines. There's also something called alt text. I briefly mentioned this before. This is the text that you apply to an image to tell Google what that image stands for or what's on it and so forth. It's also how you can increase your rankings for Google image search. So if you wanted to be found on Google Images, maybe you created an infographic or a buyer persona that's really nice and you want that to show up on Google, you need to put in the proper alt text or alternative text within the image itself. There's title tags. Title tags is what I was speaking about earlier. The title tag is what appears in a search engine results at the top. It's in blue. If you think of a Google search, it's the blue words that sit up at the top. They give you the header. Meta description is what's right below that. There's 2 lines of brief sentences that describe what that particular result is all about. You have SERP. If you hear me say the acronym SERP, that stands for Search Engine Results Pages. Keywords is also key phrases. So don't think about it as just a key word as a single word. You can think of it as a key phrase as multiple words together in a concise order. These keywords are specific to what you would like to be found by people and by Google. Focus keywords are the primary words that you want to be found by. So let's manager, right? If you're an artist manager, you want to be found for Jan Doe artist manager, right? But other people might be searching artist management, managing artist, or I need an artist manager, or something of that along those lines. When they search for those things, each one of those is a separate query. So artist management might sound a lot like artist manager, but to Google, those are 2 completely separate deals. Those are 2 completely separate keywords. So you need to have a focus keyword, the primary structure of the phrase that you want to be known as. And then everything else beyond that would be supplemental keywords. There's also keyword density. Keyword density is this idea of the number of times that keywords will appear on any given web page within a piece of content or a ratio or a percentage of the overall word count. Yoast SEO, which is a plugin for WordPress, recommends between 0.5 and 3% of your words should be your keywords. So a very actual low percentage of all the words on your page should actually be the keywords that you're trying to be found for. If you have a high keyword density, it's telling Google that you're trying to game the system. So you actually don't want to overdo the keywords within your post. Long tail keywords. Long tail keywords have more to do with search, voice search perhaps. When somebody's saying, how do I get to the restaurant that's has a blue roof near the Orlando Eye, right? And you click go, right? And then all of a sudden you're getting all these different results. How many of you have asked Google some obnoxiously long search? Show of hands, right? It's probably happened. So those are long tail keywords that you can actually use. And there's some that are a little bit too long, but there's some that are right in the sweet spot that you can optimize for and get a lot of traffic because you're optimized for those long tail keywords. The ones that maybe aren't, they're a little bit more specific than they are broad. Broad would be, I'm looking for dresses, and then specific or long tail would be black dresses with, what is it, shoestring strap, right? That would be a long tail keyword. Also, we have backlinks, right? Backlinks are the links that other people are pointing to your site and saying this is something of value. You have bots, aka spiders, aka crawlers. Essentially, what Google does, they send out these spiders across the known internet, and they crawl a site and they index each individual page and each individual content. And those spiders are constantly crawling all over the internet. They're also known as bots or crawlers. And the more easily these bots, crawlers, or spiders can read your information and index it, the more likely you are to show up higher in search results. You also have internal linking, like I mentioned before. This is the idea of taking one page on your site and linking to another. So if you have 15 blog posts, each one of those blog posts should have a link to another blog post. You should always be linking internally as well as externally. And then finally, you have something called an XML sitemap. An XML sitemap can be generated by a plugin on WordPress called Yoast, and I'll tell you about that here in just a second. But Yoast develops that XML sitemap for you, and it hand delivers it to the Google Search Console that then tells their spiders, here's everything you need to go look for on that site. Go. So it makes the process of those bots crawling your site a little bit more efficient. There are several WordPress plugins for SEO. Here they are. I'm going to mention two. First, I'll mention SEO Yoast because it's the most important. SEO Yoast makes your life so much easier when it comes to SEO. All it does is it says green light, yellow light, red light. Here's green light, you're all good on this category. Yellow light, you need to work on these things, and it tells you exactly what you need to do. Red light, it tells you, gosh, you don't have a meta description, you don't have a title tag, you don't have these keywords. This is your keyword focus, yet it's not showing up anywhere in your post, right? It'll tell you that, and then it tells you what to do about it. It's a very simple way to optimize your website in a DIY manner. So highly recommend installing Yoast SEO on your WordPress site. Another one that I'll mention is the W3 Total Cache. Essentially what this does is it improves your load time. It's improving your load time, and that's important, remember, for search engines. When your site loads faster, the page speed is faster, which means you're going to be more ready to take the top results on Google search results. The same would be true with mobile devices. If your page loads faster and somebody's on a mobile device but they're not attached to Wi-Fi, it's important for them to have that page still load even though they're not on Wi-Fi. So W3 Total Cache is a great plugin as well. Another one that I'll mention is the A3 Lazy Load. A3 Lazy Load is essentially, you probably saw this on a website that you visited before. You scroll down and then you see a picture load kind of slowly, where it's like as you're scrolling, you see another picture kind of load. Do you know what I'm talking about? Okay, so when you scroll down and then it loads a picture, scroll down a little bit further and it loads a picture, that's an A3 Lazy Load equivalent. That's what's happening here. And essentially what that's doing is it's speeding up the rate at which your page can load in the servers and on somebody's device. And again, the faster your page loads, the more likely Google is to approve of your site. The last one that I'm going to mention is really simple SSL. Now, unfortunately, for the sake of your project here at Full Sail, the website, you can't include this particular plugin accurately. And the reason why I say that is because you need server-side access. And no students have server-side access to the fsbizsite.com site. So unfortunately, you can't use it on your site here at Full Sail, but that doesn't mean that you can't use it on a self-hosted site that you have generated on your own. So if you own your own site, jando.com, and you want to use an SSL or secure link to your site, which is highly recommended and will instantly improve your search engine results rankings, highly recommend this plugin. Yes, you had a question?
Yeah, but it was about a previous slide about the keyword density.
Yeah.
Like, how do you know when 2 months is 2 months?
The percentage that Yoast recommends is 0.5 to 3% of all the words. So let's say, you know, you had 2,000 words on the page, or I'll make it easy, 1,000 words on the page, right? 3% of those 1,000 words should be your keywords. No more than that. If you have more than that, then Google's starting to look at it as spam. Because remember, it's not just about the keywords. It's about the user experience, the load time of the page, the scannability of your page, subheaders within the text, multimedia content embedded. Google understands that the internet user of 2019 and beyond is not just looking to read a post. They're looking to, one, scan it, but then two, they want a video, they want an image, they want something that is desirable. So that user experience is very important. So that's why keyword density actually has a lot less relevance today than it did 5 to 10 years ago. Yeah, so I would worry less about that and more about just make sure that you have your keywords maybe out of 1,000 words, maybe you have it, you know, 4 or 5 times, and even that might be pushing it, but it should be included in, say, the header and a subheader perhaps, and maybe 2 times within the actual post itself. That will tell Google that, oh, these are important words to this particular content. Yeah, good question. Thank you. Other questions? Okay, if you do nothing else, I would recommend first and foremost, go and check out Google Search Console. Google Search Console allows you to just put in your URL to your website, and it gives you everything that you'll need to do in accordance with their best practices. So you just go ahead and click Start Here. You'll set up your account, same way that you would set up like a Gmail account of sorts, and you'll include the pertinent information that they're asking for, and then they will provide you with, okay, here are the few things that you'll need to do to work on your site. We need your XML sitemap, we need, you know, metadata, we need your title tag in the proper location. Once those things are done, you're going to start seeing over the next 90 days a significant increase in your search engine results. So if you're currently sitting on page 5 for your website, in 90 days, you're probably either sitting on page 1, depending on the keyword search, or page 2. It can happen relatively quick for if you do what they are asking you to do. And I would also recommend, like I've been saying, Yoast. Yoast SEO for WordPress, by far and large, the best plugin that you're going to possibly download for your site. It makes it extremely easy to optimize your site, every blog post, every page on your site, and it's pretty straightforward and self-explanatory, especially now that you've had this course, this workshop. You know the syntax, you know the language of SEO, so you should be able to kind of work your way through those different components of that particular post. All right, that brings us to the collective workspace experience of the workshop. I'm going to need some participation. I need you to use this collaborative workspace. It's a Google Doc. You'll have to put in that bit.ly link exactly as you see it here in order to get to it. Once you're there, you're going to notice that you could take a couple different sections of the post. And what we're going to do is we're going to write an optimized post. And I'm going to show you it published on our demo site with Fully Sailing. All right. So you're going to go here. Make sure that you're going there. You're opening up the collaborative workspace. And once you're logged in, I'm going to need to see a few show of hands that indicate that you have logged in correctly or accessed that page. And we'll go into the group experiment. Yes, you're on. Thank you. Man, that was fast. We got the fastest typer. Let's see what role you want.
So how technical do you have to be, or how much technical knowledge should you know? Like, should you like learn like coding or like any of that, like super technical stuff?
Is the context of your question to be an SEO specialist?
Yeah.
To be an SEO specialist per se and make your money doing that, yes, you should know a bit of code. Not anything in depth, but basic HTML, HTML5, maybe some JavaScript, CSS, you know, those sort of things, because you're more than likely going to have to manipulate a website in favor of your efforts. But honestly, I would spend more time getting to know how the internet works. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I see you. I see you. Did you have a question, or you're just telling me you're in? Oh, okay. I'll come to you next. So that's where I would spend my time. How does Google work? How does Google function? And if you take like a basic class on SEO, or if you just go to moz.com and check out their SEO 101, you're going to get all the base information you need, and then you can take it from there. Oh yeah, yeah. Neil Patel. Oh, I love Neil. I wish he would stop yelling at me. You know, I mean, every video it's the hands. You know, the hands and the da 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 da. It's like, quit yelling. I get it. But he's got great content. Yeah, yeah.
I follow him a lot, like his advice, whatever.
Yeah.
The things that he says really make sense. Like, because before I found him, I had no idea. Like, I don't know his background.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this is some crazy guy on LinkedIn.
No, he's legit. Yeah, Neil's legit. I've used, in fact, some of the material that you viewed here. If I bump over to the source page, you'd notice that some of it came from Neil. He does really straightforward. He speaks to the beginner, and so the language that he uses, he kind of makes it make sense. So I do appreciate his content. Like I said, I just it's like, come on, Neil, back off a little bit. I get it. Very good. Yes, sir. You had a question.
I was trying to see if you knew what information am I supposed to enter for the school Wi-Fi to connect? I'm not having any service in here with my phone.
Hopefully she'll be able to help you with that. If you still can't get in, I would recommend closing out your Wi-Fi and reopening it. All right, show of hands, how many people are on the collaborative workspace? Excellent, excellent, excellent. Good, good, good. All right, now here's what we're going to do. We are going to create an optimized blog, and we're going to have to do it in 30 minutes, but I believe in us. This is 9 a.m., week 1 on a Friday. That means I got the best of the best in this class, and you're about to prove it, all right? So the first thing we need to do is we need to brainstorm. We need 3 broad topics. Were you able to log in?
Nah, I didn't get the. I ain't set it up. I'm logged in.
You are logged in, and I'll move that back for you. All right. So the first thing we need is 3 broad topics. All right. Broad topic. It can be anything that you want. This is a blog post that's going to be published on the Full Sail site, so we got to keep it PG. All right. But 3 broad topics. Anything. Football. All right. That's broad. We got football. Give me another one. Bananas. We got 2. We got football and bananas. What else?
Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas Cage. All right. All right. Now, collectively, we get to vote. All right. We have show of hands. How many people want to write about football? 1. I'll be with you. I want to vote for football as well. All right. So we got 2 for football. All right. How many people want to write about bananas? We got 2 for bananas. It's a tie. How many people want to write about Nicolas Cage? All right, the vast majority want to write about Nicolas Cage. All right, here we go. The broad topic is going to be Nicolas Cage, all right? Now we're going to need a specific topic about Nicolas Cage. It can't just be Nicolas Cage. It's got to be far more specific, all right? Now, before we write, we have to take into consideration a target audience. We have to take into consideration what are people searching for about Nicolas Cage online. Please keep it PG.
How he runs.
All right. How he runs. All right. So we have take into consideration different search queries. So there's informational search queries like what movies was Nicolas Cage in, right? Or how does Nicolas Cage run? All right. So you have informational search queries, but then you also have navigational search queries. Navigational search queries might be Nicolas Cage site. That's a navigational search query. What that tells you is that you're looking for Nicolas Cage's website, right? That's a navigational, or Nicolas Cage blog. That's a navigational search query. You also have transactional search queries, which means that there's some type of transaction that needs to occur, like price of Nicolas Cage movie tickets, or price of Nicolas Cage's home, one of many. You also have local search queries like, where is Nicolas Cage? How close is Nicolas Cage to me? Things like that. Then you also have commercial investigation. So that might be Nicolas Cage versus Tom Cruise. It's investigation. It's compare and contrast. What is a Nicolas Cage movie, and then what is, versus another movie that somebody else might be in. So that would be commercial investigation. There's a lot of different ways that we can conduct keyword research. One of those ways is simple Google Trends. How many are familiar with Google Trends? Google Trends? Excellent. Great. Okay. I'm going to nominate you to be on our research committee. Okay. And you're going to use Google Trends to look up Nicolas Cage. All right. We also have the Google Keyword Planner. I'll be doing that because I already have the account ready. Then we also have Answer the Public. This is a phenomenal website that gives us an idea as to exactly what people are asking about somebody at any given time. I will also look into that because it's IP related and it'll shut down the amount of searches that we have. But I also need somebody on Quora. Who's familiar with Quora? Excellent. Gilberto, you're up. All right. Quora. Go to Quora.com and look up Nicolas Cage and see what questions people are asking about Nicolas Cage. You could even do a simple Google suggest search. So as you're typing in Google, it's going to make suggestions as you're writing Nicolas Cage, correct? All right, who's going to do a Google search suggest exercise? That means you're going to start on Google and you're going to type in Nicolas Cage and then see what it suggests. You want to do that? Who wants to do it? I saw your hand, you're nodding. I'll come back to you. All right. All right. So other things that you could do, you could use Moz keyword tool just as a point of reference. SpyFu is a great free resource, as well as Google Correlate. You're going to love this. Daniel, in the back, Google Correlate is like the opposite of Google Trends. It's a really cool site. So you might want to check that out. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We need a header. We need some type of header. So we're going to use a tool called Portent's Idea Generator to create a header once we have a more specific topic to write about. So those of you that have been doing research, Google Trends, Quora, Google Suggest, I need some ideas to a specific topic. What are we coming up with so far? Let's hear it. Shout it out. Nicolas Cage net worth. Is that what I heard?
Yeah.
Okay, Nicolas Cage net worth. Okay, what else? What do we got?
Nicolas Cage meme.
Meme. Nicolas Cage meme. All right, what else we got? How's it going in the back, Roberto?
Net worth.
Net worth again?
Yeah. Nicolas Cage movies.
Ooh, okay. Nicolas Cage movies. What else we got? How about that suggest again? How many different suggestions does it have?
The one is exposed, sun, age, Superman, and Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse.
Can you say it nice and loud for me?
Yes. White, sun, age, Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse, and Superman.
It was Superman, and what was the other one?
Spider-Man. Into the Spider-Man.
Was he in these movies?
Yes.
He's almost Superman.
Okay. I'm going to do one more search. Okay, this site here, let me bring it up for you. This is called answerthepublic.com. And let me know if I'm spelling Nicolas Cage correctly. Is this correct? Oops. Is that correct?
No age. Nicoll.
Like that? Oops. Like that? Does it have an H?
With an H.
We definitely need to confirm that. H?
With an H.
Like that?
Is that right?
Is that correct?
No, it doesn't have.
No H?
Oh, no H. Learn something new.
Okay, so we're putting in Nicolas Cage to answerthepublic.com. This is the visual component, and these are some of the questions that people are asking, so I'm going to show it as data. And then here are the ways at which people are asking. Are Nicolas Cage and John Travolta friends? Are Nicolas Cage and John Cusack related? Is Nicolas Cage married? Is Nicolas Cage a Scientologist? All right, let's go. Can Nicolas Cage sing? Let's go down. Where's Nicolas Cage? Where's Nicolas Cage now? Where's Nicolas Cage live? Where's Nicolas Cage today? Movie where Nicolas Cage is an angel. What is Nicolas Cage's latest movie? What is Nicolas Cage's son name? What is Nicolas Cage movies are on Netflix? What Nicolas Cage is up to now? All right, let's pick one. All right, so we have these as popular. We had the Google Trends. We had Quora. We had Suggest, making these suggestions. And then this is called answerthepublic.com. And these are actual questions that people are asking. So what's the specific topic that we're going to write about? I need enthusiasm for one particular topic.
Okay, so I don't know why the people search so much about his wife, and then discovered that he had 4, and then he changed almost 2 years, like 2 years one wife, 2 years one wife, 2 years one wife.
Do we want to talk about his marital business? Is that what we want to talk about on Friday morning?
It's either that or
Like
it's
went to Las
something
Vegas or something and got married and then they filed for divorce and now she's trying to take like half of it. So they were only married for like 3 days or something.
All right, how about this? Let's write this article. We're going to incorporate a couple different things. Let's write an article about the topic of his wives, but also we'll write about his wives, but we'll also write about his movies, because that seems to be a hot topic as well. So how do we combine those two? Think keywords right now. Think keywords like why Nicolas Cage's wives left him after these movies. Do we like it?
It goes.
We got to move quick. So I'm going to need some suggestions if we don't like that. All right, let's hit it. All right, I need some writers. Now you're only responsible for 100 words. What does 100 words actually look like? It looks like this. That's 100 words. That's it. It's not a lot. It's very short. It's very simple, and you get to write about a topic you love. Nicolas Cage's wives leaving him after watching his movies. All right. All right. So, who wants to be a writer? Show of hands. You're to be volunteered? Voluntold? Just 100 words about Nicolas Cage wives leaving him after watching his movies. Okay. All right, cool. We got one. I need another writer. All right, we got another writer? I'll bring it back up for you. All right, we need a third writer. Let's give it a third writer.
This is under main point?
Main points. Yep. You'll just write. You see how there's main point section 1, 2, 3, and 4? All right, I need another writer. Give me another writer. Step up to the plate. 100 words. It's not much. All right, I need some researchers. Who's going to do some research on these topics? Excellent. All right, I need you to include links on this collaborative workspace, all right? So include some links. Give us something to research for our writers. I need another writer. Come on. We can do it. Thank you, sir. We got 2 writers. One more. Come on. We're writing about a really cool topic. I'll even take 100 words. Let's go, 100 words. It's not much. You're going to read an article, scan an article rather, write briefly. All right, Joanna. It's not Jeffree Star, but it is Nicolas Cage. Can you show your writing prowess for us? 100 words about Nicolas Cage. Okay.
I did no research for that.
But that's okay. That's okay. Will you do it? 100 words Nicolas Cage, about his wives leaving him after a movie that they watched of his. That's okay. We're going to give you research. We're going to give you articles to pull from. All right. All right. So we got our writers. On this sheet, you're going to write in these sections 100 words. You're also going to have, we need the header. So I'll put in the header. We'll put in the meta description and the like on the actual post. So we also need images and videos. Who wants to look up images, videos that we can include? All right, very good. Excellent. All right, we got images as well. All right, throw the images on the sheet.
Anything you want, Christian. No, thank you. I'll find out. Come on. Throw a chair in there. Throw a seat in that car.
You gotta put it on too. I'm so serious.
All right. Who remembers the anatomy? Not the movies. The anatomy of the blog post. The anatomy of the blog post. What was the first thing we had to do right below the headline? Right? We had to have an introduction. All right. So we have to have an introduction. I'm going to leave space for that. Then after the introduction, we had a featured image, right? We had something to pull the visitor's eyes down the page. So in order to do that, we just add a block for an image, and we will insert from a link. Oops. Images. Which images can we use?
Do I put the links in the resources section? Ryan,
What's that?
do I put the links in the resources section?
Yes, you do. Thank you. All right, let's delete that then. All right, our page is starting to build out. One of the things that we have is the header. We have the introduction. We're going to move this down below. We have our featured image. We have more text. We need subheaders, right? So, life. Okay, one of the other things that we're going to be working on is this meta description. So again, that's what's going to show up in search results. So if we edit the snippet, we can first show it on a desktop or we can show it on a mobile device. If we look at it on a desktop, this is what it's going to look like. And look, it's getting cut off a little bit, but this meta description needs to be provided. So if we edit snippet, we come down here to meta description, we're going to write briefly what this particular post is about, including those keywords that we're focused on. So the keywords that we're focused on, again, would be Nicolas Cage's wives or wife. So we'll write there you go. Now we got a few different variations of the keywords, and it's the proper length. We also need to have the focus phrase. Remember, we talked about one keyword, and that one keyword is going to be, it is with an or without an H, right? Is that what we landed on? Nicolas Cage's, and was Cage's like this in the search suggest when you were looking it up? Apostrophe S, I'm assuming. Yeah. Okay, cool.
The name of his wife came up #1 in Google Trends.
And what was the name of his wife?
Erica.
And that was one of them?
What?
That was one of his wives?
Yeah, that's the 4-day one. That's the recent one. I'm actually writing about his first one. Trisha. What?
Oh, did you needed the link?
I was just gonna write it in Word and then copy it.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, let's do that, and I'll bring it back up for you. All right, let's see how we're coming along here. All right, good. Thank you. We got some more verbiage. Very good. How about somebody looking up social content? So somebody who's going on like Instagram or Facebook, something that's or Twitter, and finding a tweet about Nicolas Cage or his Twitter account or Instagram. We're gonna need some of that too. Somebody can include that down here. You said Erica is spelled with a K?
Yeah.
We got some great tweets here. Keep those coming.
Might as well try. Emotional. Ryan,
Yeah.
can you show the bit again?
Yep.
There's a lot of them I've never been.
Is there? Where's the? There it is.
Oh, okay. Have that little apostrophe at the end.
Oh, did I mess that up? Oh no. Let's see if it opens. It should open.
Okay.
But you're right. Yeah, it doesn't have that.
It's weird that
Isn't it nice when you can keep things simple?
All right, who gave this graph here? This is a good one. Where did you find that? Is there a link right on top? Right here? Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Are those the questions they give you? Not really, but some stupid ones like that. Oh, after you've actually made a connection. I think you should ask them. So
All right, is this main point number 5 complete?
No.
Okay, keep working. Need the link? All right. And you just be sure that you're typing it in just as you see there.
It's like, I just came down with a $760,000. I need places to spend. They're not getting it.
make sure you have that.
Very decisions. No.
I may tell you what I'm gonna do, but you have to say exactly.
And he knows this. He doesn't have these.
Get free MP3s.
Did you get it?
Swag.
Oh.
Every time he said he's paid for it, he's here.
Type in this.
Yep. Yeah. Tell me when you're ready, and I'll call it out to you. Go to
So much better quality.
bit.ly/. All right. So bit.ly/COL AB, the number 4, BLOG SEO dash capital I, capital L, capital W, capital S.
So it's a print on demand service.
So you don't have to
So
buy all of
prices are a little high.
That work?
Turnaround. That sucks.
Yeah, that's all.
Perfect.
It's not terrible. If they follow these, you could get a day turnaround.
We got all over print shirts. I mean, if you're actually into like the full design of everything.
Do I need to drop in main point?
You just go to the sample shirts, it has all the colors.
Yeah, any of those main points that are left undone.
All your illustrations and whatnot. And then you'll know what they look like. No, I love to. Jimmy still has money. So I don't have it connected to my website just because I'm and I don't know how to pull over.
Oh, yeah. Because I have to use it like through another project.
It's 99 cents to post it, and then there's no, and then you keep track of all my. But then you get a email statement from FD.
All right. Section 3, are you done?
Yeah, that's what I got.
That was you? Okay, perfect. All right, let's grab yours.
I didn't catch it. I think it's
Oh, that's a good one.
You need any more main points, right?
What's that?
You need any more main points? Or are you kind of wrapping up?
Kind of wrapping up. Yeah. All right, main point number 2 is done. Thank you.
I gotta go see a man about a horse. What? With Bubba? Right, that's what happens with the girls. Try to keep it that way.
All right, and point number 5, we're good?
I'll be up there tonight. Maybe lap of something. Yeah. Are you working tonight? You working tonight?
All right, so here's what we came up with. What we have is our optimized header of why all 4 wives of Nicolas Cage left him after watching his movies. We then move into the hook, into the introduction, right? Have you ever wondered what happened to Nicolas Cage's wives? Or wait, wasn't he married more than once? How many wives did Nicolas Cage actually have? I should say have. Why on earth did they leave him? Well, we have discovered the reason. Remember, that's the hook. And it's also loaded with a few conversational pieces. You, I, me, mine. We also have our featured image that'll pull the eye down the page. Below that, we have a brief summary as to what the reader is about to encounter. In this comedic post, so we're making it known that this is comedic, not actual facts, we explain why watching Nicolas Cage's movies caused his wives to leave him. Now, notice how I highlighted Nicolas Cage's movies, right? That was one of those keyword phrases that we identified as a specific keyword that we would like to talk about within this post. So not only did I highlight it, we are hyperlinked to some other content within our site. We're also hyperlinked to external content as well. Below that, we see a subheader. This is an H2 tag that says Cage's wife leaves after Face Off. And then down below, it talks about how Erica left them because she was more attracted to John Travolta than to Nicolas Cage. Below that, we have a few embedded tweets. So these were actually pulled from Twitter with additional information for the viewer of this article. You'll also notice that there's a few other hyperlinks, and those hyperlinks are strategically placed around the names of the wives, which we also identified as people searching quite often. The actual names I think we had in Google Trends. Again, some more tweets flowing down to more information. These links that are in this Latin text are that's placeholder text, but it's linking back to other articles that have been published on our site, and I'll show you what that looks like here in just a minute. And then lastly, we've embedded a video, because remember, blogging isn't just about writing anymore. It's about vlogging. It's about showing multimedia content that is applicable to the viewer, to, in our case, the target audience. And then what do? After we've made our key points, we make a conclusion and we call the visitor to an action. That action in this case is, tell us what you think. Did we make a good case? Is this actually why why Nicolas Cage's wives left him? Did we leave anything out? So that would be the sort of questions that perhaps you would ask at the conclusion. Now, down below, I did want to point out a few things. This is using that Yoast SEO plugin that we talked about. Up front, you'll notice that there's focused keywords or phrases. That keyword phrase was Nicolas Cage's wife. That's what we wanted to focus on. Below that, you'll notice that we've included a title tag. That title tag shows up in blue. That's what's going to show when somebody searches. This is what it looks like on a desktop. This is what it'll look like on a mobile device. If we go back to the desktop, underneath we have the URL. Then below that, we have the meta description that we talked about that was so important. Yes, sir.
So that's what I just downloaded from my site too. So that's what the Yoast app will give us that option to see how our blog is going to post.
You got it. Yeah, it's going to show you what it is. And then below that, you're actually going to see like green, yellow, red. And that would indicate, okay, you're in the right length. You have the right word count. You have the right keywords in the right places. If it's red, then it'll tell you, okay, you need to go back and include these keywords within your post in some way. Okay, down below that, the meta description is what we wrote, and that's what we actually want to show in search results. And I'm not going to go into more of the advanced features, but they are there for your abilities to go through. That's the SEO. Now, if we check out the readability, this is what I was just talking about. You have red, green, or yellow. In this case, subheading distribution, we only have one section that has text longer than 300. So what this is telling us to do is we actually want to pop in a few subheaders. I'm not going to do that now, but this gives you an idea of how user-friendly this plugin really is. So this first red dot is indicating that subheader distribution is weak. Essentially what that means is there's a lot of text without another subheader breaking up that text. So we'd want to break up that text with an additional subheader. Below that, you have transitional words. Now, this is a lot because we put in some placeholder text, but transitional words make it more conversational. As we spoke about at the top of the hour, this needs to be a conversation. So conversations don't just end abruptly, at least not the good ones. Instead, there's a transition from one topic to another. So we could include that to make it a little bit more readable. And then we can see that the paragraph length and everything else they've indicated here is a green light. All right. So now that we're ready to publish, we'll publish, and we can actually see what that blog post looks like. If you want to check this out, it's found at fsbizsite.com/full sale. fsbizsite.com/full sale. Just click on the blog feed and it'll be the first blog post that's published. You all put in a lot of work with this, so I applaud you for putting in all that work. For all my writers, all the writers that stepped up, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for stepping up. My researchers and everybody else. If you are interested in this particular topic, please let me know. You can email me at rmickley@fullsale.com. I'll put it up here on the board, and we can chat further about it if you would like.